Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the 10th in a series of video tutorials on how to create a mobile game in Unity 5. So this episode we're going to focus on three things. Firstly, we're going to look at creating a crash noise when we hit our planet or the random object in space. Secondly, we're going to look at saving our high score, and thirdly we're going to look at loading the high score back into the game. So what I'm going to do first off is press play. And you can see that the score, as always, is counting along. So eventually what we'll have by the end of this tutorial is a way of loading that high score into a new object on the screen. So first and foremost, let's create the crash noise. So if we go to audio and import this crash sound, you can get this on our website for free. Head on over there and download it. It's in the download and asset section. Next, we need to go onto our main camera, audio objects, and where we've got star audio, let's hold control, press D to duplicate, and when that's duplicated, let's rename it and let's call it crash. Drag and drop the crash audio over here onto audio clip and just double check it doesn't have play on awake ticked. So the next thing we need to do is we need to modify the crashing script. So in our scripts folder, or rather let's quickly double check what we have attached to our planet. You can see we have death script. So let's open up death script. It'll open up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, whichever you have. So firstly, what we need to do on death script is set a new variable. So var crash, and it'll be a type audio source semicolon. Next variable we want to do is var, and what we'll do is let's call this main audio, and this will be game object, and then semicolon. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play the crash audio and immediately shut off the main music. So what we do, crash dot play, open close bracket, semicolon. I'm just going to tab that along as well so it's nice and neat. And then main audio dot set active in brackets false, and semicolon, and save. So now if we click on, for example, our planet or this piece of debris in the sky, we should have some extra variables down here. So it's just a case of drag and dropping our crash noise right there and our main theme right there. So you'll need to do it on everything which is currently in the scene, but as we only have two objects because we're kind of planning ahead here, it doesn't take too long at all. So crash and main theme, and let's try this out. Okay, that's fine. Fly again. Yep. So our crashing noise works just fine. So next, let's move on to saving high scores. Now, the way we're going to do this is, because it's quite a lengthy process, what we're going to do today is we're going to make sure we can save and load a high score. So the next, or any score, I should say. So the next time what we're going to do is kind of do a little bit of math in the system just to make sure that we are working with a high score and not just any score. So first and foremost, we need to just save the score that we have. So in our scripts, right click, create script, and let's call this save. In fact, no, we'll call it score save. Open it up, and everything it gives you we can just delete. So for this we need to use as the very first line, we need to import the kind of in-out function of the system. So we need to do import system.io semicolon. Next, we need to set a variable, so var, and this variable is going to be the file name. So let's have file name, and this is equals, and let's call it something we can relate to quite easily. High score dot data. Now, I will point out here that it doesn't matter what you actually call this file name. It doesn't even matter if it has a suffix such as data or .txt or .doc. It doesn't matter whether it has that or not. I'm only putting it there so as it kind of recognizes that it is a file. So the function we need to use is going to be start, open close bracket, open curly bracket. And here we need to set another variable. So this variable, we'll call it our file. That's equal to file dot create text, open brackets, file name, which was our earlier variable just up here, close bracket, semicolon. And then here, what we're going to need to do is our file dot write line. And what I'm going to do is open bracket, put double quote, and then put plus, space, close bracket, and semicolon. We'll get back to modifying that line in just a second. Now we need to do our file dot close and semicolon and close our function and save. So the next thing we need to do is, oh, okay, so there's an error. That's fine. We don't need to worry about the error for now. I think it's because of what we've put here, but we can deal with that in just a second. Next thing we need to do is we need to actually reference our high score. So for that, we need to go to our canvas and click on score. And you can see here, score 0. And if you remember our scoring system script, which we did not too long ago, hopefully this should work. We have static var the score with an integer. Now, the score is the kind of a variable which is within this script, which we're going to have to reference in our saving script. So just to clarify, when we originally did this script, we needed the score to be available in other scripts, which is exactly what we're going to do here. So the next variable we're going to have here is, let's say, let's just call it score amount. That will be an integer, semicolon. So now in our function start, what we need to do is we need to do score amount is equal to scoring system dot the score, semicolon. And now here we can hopefully do this this way, but we'll soon see what happens. So you've got in the right line, you've got double quotes plus score amount and save. This may throw up an error in the console. Okay, so it doesn't like something. It doesn't like us closing the file. Okay, so let's try and get rid of that and just have score amount in the right line. Save. And it's not clearing. Okay, so I'm just going to blank that one out with a double slash, save, and then see if it still gives us an error. Okay, there we go. So for now, we can leave this out. In fact, I think I know what it probably is. It's probably because we need to put the brackets at the end. I suspect that is going to be the problem there. Parentheses, I should say, shouldn't I really? Okay, so that's fine now. So what should happen when we crash is we need to save that high score. So if we go to our planet and remember the death script, so let's open up our death script again, and let's create yet another variable, which will be the variable we need to save the high score. So var high score, and that will be game object, and then semicolon, and then right before the crash noise, let's do high score dot set active. Oops, nope, we want it true, sorry, and save. So now what we've done here is we've set the high score as an actual object. So if we create a new object, an empty one that is, just thinking about it just there, right click, and we need to go to rename, and let's just call this high score check. And what I want to do is drag and drop the score save onto high score check and disable it. So what's going to happen now is when we crash into the planet or debris, it'll make our sound, and it will also activate this high score check object, which will run our script to save whatever our score is right now. As I say, there's a lot more complexity to it, checking if it is the high score and whether it should save or not. But as I say, this episode we're focused on saving and loading. Next episode we're focusing on the mathematics of it all. So if we go to our planet, go to the script where it's got high score, we need to put in high score check. And the same applies to our debris. We need to put in high score check right there. Now, hopefully this should work. In your main folder, with your assets, library, project settings, and whatever else, there is no file there called high score. So hopefully when we play it now and crash, we should end up with that file. Okay, so we've crashed. The high score check has become active. And if we go to there, you should see now that the high score file has now saved, and within there is our score itself. So this has happened, as I say, because we have executed this line, we have made this script realize what the score is, we've written it to the file, and we've closed the file. So to kind of prove a point here, if we crash into the debris, theoretically our score will be higher because we've gone a little bit further along the level. So let's try that. Okay, so I think it should be around 65 now. So let's double check. Yes, there we go. So at this point, if you followed everything correctly, or if you're having problems with the script, head over to the website, you can download it for free. You should have a working save score appearing. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to load this high score into our game window via a separate text. So what we're going to need to do is if you go on score, hold Control, press D to duplicate. I'm going to right click, rename, and call this high score. And I'm going to change the font style a little bit and the color just so we can kind of differentiate between it. I might change it to a kind of a bluish color. I might make it not, but I'll make it italic instead. And now what I want to do is I want to drag it down. Let's just have 0. And I want to put it just there for now. So I'm not going to label it as high score or anything, just to make things a little bit easier. I'm just going to have it as a text label for, well, time's sake. So the next thing we're going to need to do is when we load up this particular level, we need to load in this high score. And it's not difficult, but a few little strange things going on with the code. So let's get into it. So right click, create another script, and let's call this score load. And let's open that up in MonoDevelop. delete everything it's given us. So essentially, we need to reference that file yet again. So we're going to have import system.io semicolon. Now we need to set a couple of variables on this one. We need to set the file name again. So var file name equals, and it's going to be the exact same file name. So you need high score dot data, or whatever you named it as in your score save script. Next variable is going to be a string. Now a string is something that we can, it's not numeric, it's kind of text as it were, but you can have numbers in it. So let's have this as var score load, and that will be string with a capital S semicolon. And next one, in fact, I'm not sure if we're going to need another one. Let's just write this script as we go along and let's see what happens. So function start, open close bracket, open curly bracket. You know by now, we've done it that many times. So we're going to need to set a variable, and I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit with this one. I'm just going to call this SR. It's short for stream reader. I'm going to keep it lowercase as well, just so then we know what we're doing here. So var SR, and that's of type stream reader equals new stream reader, and in brackets we need to put our file name. So file name semicolon. And now we need to basically read our line which we have saved. So we can do line is equal to SR, which is our variable, dot read line, open close bracket, and semicolon. Now we need to do a while statement here just in case we do write more numbers on lines into this file itself. So what we're going to need to do is while the line is equal to nothing, as it were. So while line, and that's this is inside some brackets, and then exclamation mark equals null, close bracket, open curly bracket. So everything we do here is while this is technically true. So we're going to do score load, and score load has to be equal to the line. In this case, it's whatever is saved as line number 1. So this first time we execute this while loop, it will have this here inserted into it. So equals line semicolon, and then line equals SR dot read line, open close bracket, semicolon, close curly bracket. So we've closed our while loop there, and then we need to close the variable itself, the file. So SR dot close, open close bracket, semicolon, and I'm just going to go down a few lines and then close the function and save. So what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to put another let me think. We're going to need to put another variable here, and let's have this variable as, what should we call it? Score display, and we'll have this as game object and semicolon. So in our scoring system, if you remember, every time we add to the score, we use this line here, score display.getComponent, blah 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 blah. What I think what I need to do is I'm actually going to change that to high score display, just so as we don't have any conflict within the script itself. So if you copy this line, or you can write it out yourself, and we're going to modify this line just here. So the line here should read high score display dot get component, and then text is equal to, make sure you have a double quote there, plus, and then score load, and save. So I'm just going to quickly explain this line again here. What we've done is we have made the text within the high score display game object equals to blank plus whatever the score load is here. So what I'm just trying to think, is this going to work properly? Yes, it should do, shouldn't it? Because we've defined it there as score load is equal to the line. Yes. So sorry, I'm just want to double check that I have done this correctly, because sometimes when you're dealing with functions like this, it can get a little bit daunting. So let's head back to Unity, head to the console. Okay, so it doesn't like what we've got here. So let's quickly have a look. Why doesn't it like line? So okay, so the one thing we forgot to do is we need to set one more variable, var line, and this is of type string, semicolon, and save. So just to reiterate, as we've written this script, we need to just ensure we do have that variable line there. When we wrote it originally, we've got to set the variable, which is my fault. So we've typed line there, and then we've ended up with the errors saying we don't know what it is, but that's fine. We've sorted. So we just make sure it's a variable of type string. So once we've written our score load script, we then need to have a script within our game, which then says to display it here. So game object, create empty. Let's call this high score display, and then drag and drop score load straight onto it. And then the only thing we'll need to do now is drag and drop the high score object onto the high score display. So now when we press play, we should see our high score appear in our blue text, which it does. So that's fine. So theoretically, if we'd played this game for a long time last time, maybe a couple of minutes, and we've amassed a score of, let's say, 5465, then we've modified that save file now. So if we press play now, our high score here should say 5465. So whatever is in this text file right here, or data file, or whatever you called it, will actually appear here in our high score. Okay, so we'll leave that episode there for now. Next episode, we're going to look at doing the maths to make sure this is our high score. We'll add a little tag to there as well that says high score, just so as we know. And we'll also look at building up further along the level, all along here, because what we'll be doing is building in segments, which will eventually we'll be randomizing and adding on to the level itself. So we're well over halfway through developing this game now, so I wouldn't expect this to go on for too many more tutorials. So yeah, you have a play around, and until next time, thank you very much for watching.